Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So that we can continue with the Sanatana Dharma sessions that we're having. Today we're going to talk about reincarnation and karma, which is such an integral part of our philosophy. So the nature of the soul, as we discussed when we looked at the jiva, is eternal. In Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, there's nearly 30 verses. There are 30 verses where Krishna is describing the nature of the soul. It cannot be killed, it cannot be drowned, it cannot be suffocated. It's eternal. But it's very tiny.
Prabhu, sorry to disturb, yes. But
no problem.
It's very, very noisy. I'm sorry, but I don't know if everybody else.
Okay. Good point. Is everybody finding it noisy?
I don't know.
No.
Yeah, it's not stable, Prabhu.
It's not correct. It's not like the normal way, Prabhuji. No, it's different.
It's stable. Oh, okay. Let me just try something else. Let me just try.
You don't put it like that. Okay, Haribol.
Yeah. Let me try something else. Okay, how about now? Is that better?
Better, Prabhuji.
Yeah, there's no much crackling now. That's much better.
Thank you. Thank you very much for letting me know, Kamashi. Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
So the nature of the soul, as we're just discussing, is eternal. It is tiny in comparison to the super soul, the Paramatma, who is residing also within our body. So in this body, there are two souls. We are there and the Paramatma is there. But we are tiny. Paramatma is all-knowing. We don't know, apart from a little bit about our own body, we don't really know what others' bodies are like. The soul does not die. It's eternal. There are two types of bodies. This is quite important to understand. This is from Bhagavad Gita 7.4. There's the gross body, which is consisting of earth, water, fire, and air, and ether, five elements. And those 5 elements are considered to be gross because they're not subtle. There's a subtle body as well. Earth, for example, you can see it, you can feel it. Same with water, you can taste it. Fire, you can also feel it. Air, you can feel it. Ether is a little harder. It's a little bit more subtle than the other 4 items, but it's still considered to be part of the gross. And that's like the sky. So earth, water, air, fire, ether, that's the gross body is made up of that. So the gross body is never alive. It's made up of material things, innate things. The subtle body consists of mind, intelligence, and ahankar, false ego. So when the soul leaves the body, it leaves the gross body. But the subtle body, the mind, intelligence, and ego, actually transports the soul to its next body. The subtle body stays with the soul, or the soul stays with the subtle body. Now, we are beyond both the gross and the subtle body. We are spiritual beings. We are separate from the gross and the subtle bodies. So we are different, distinct. We're spiritual, we're eternal. We are by nature Satchit Anand, which means Sat means Satchit. Sat means eternal. Chit means knowledgeable, and Anand happy. That's our constitutional nature. But at the moment, because we have been covered by this material nature, that Satchit Anand nature of our soul has been covered, is hidden. So we think we're going to die, because that's not true. We are eternal. Hare Krishna, yes, Nandiben?
Yes, Prabhu, just one question. You know,
Sure.
with the soul, which carries the subtle body, mind but the soul is eternal. It doesn't die. Nothing happens to it. So how many janmas, or how many, what I would say, births that it's been doing and carrying this mind, intelligence, false ego from years beyond. So how does it manifest in the new janam?
How does it manifest?
In the new birth, in the new body that.
Okay. Yeah, it's like when you get a phone, you get a SIM card as well. So that if you change the phone, you can take the SIM card and insert it into the phone, and the memory it can get erased. It can stay there within the subtle body, subtle mind. The thing is, as the soul is carried by the subtle body into another body, the subtle body is adjusted to fit the consciousness of the body. So if from a human body, we get a body of a bear, for example, the subtle body, the mind, intelligence, and ego already had that consciousness anyway, because that's why it got the next body of the bear. But in order for the soul to adjust to that new surrounding, the mind, intelligence, and ego is somewhat reconditioned, if you like, into the body of the bear, the body of the bear. So effectively, although the behavior already is like that, but when you're in the body of a bear, completely everything changes. Whereas in the body of a human being, even though one may be acting like a bear, still there is some elements of human behavior. But when you receive an animal body, everything changes. You get the same mind, same intelligence, but it's just reconditioned. It's just given the ability, the thought process of a bear as opposed to a human being. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's what it adjusts itself depending on the new body that it gets.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that makes sense.
Yeah. And this mind, intelligence, ego stays with us until we leave this world. So it's been with us since time immemorial, and it will continue to stay with us until we leave this we leave this material world. And then the mind, intelligence, and ego gets destroyed. It's merged into the pradhan. This is very, very powerful. This mind, intelligence, ego is extremely powerful. Hence why the soul identifies with the subtle body or the gross body, but actually it's neither. But it's this mind, intelligence, and ego is so powerful. But ultimately, when we again connect with the Supreme Lord, this subtle body gets destroyed, gets left behind in the spiritual world, in the material world. So very important to understand that. Oops. Sorry. Okay. What happens at the time of death? Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita. 8.6. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajati ante kale varam tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. So death, whatever we're remembering, whatever we're thinking, that's what we're going to achieve. So if we're thinking of continuing, like if we're thinking about our spouse or our children or our house or our car when we're dying, we'll stay in this world. If we're thinking of Krishna or God, at the time of death, then we will continue on our spiritual journey and hopefully attain the spiritual world. Now, our activities, our karma, what actions we're doing in this life, will determine our future. So this is the point about karma. Whatever we're doing today is going to have an impact on us in the future. And there's 3 types of karma. Krishna explains this in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. There's the prescribed duties. Our is also called karma. What we meant to do. So if we are, like Arjun was a warrior, so his prescribed duty was to uphold the law. And as long as he was doing that, his activities would be considered sinless. There's the second type of karma is vikarma, which is performing forbidden acts, and that's sinful activities, going against the 4 regulative principles. And then there's akarma, which are spiritual activities. Now we have to understand karma will still, although it's sinless, it'll still keep us in this world because we're performing acts which are within this material conception of life. So yes, we're doing our duty, but we're attached to the fruits. We are doing so not in a mood of spirituality, not in a mood of detachment. Whereas our karma, that same act, when it's dedicated to the Supreme Lord, becomes our karma. So whatever our nature is, whatever our swabhav is, whatever we are meant to do, if we just do it without the Lord, it's just karma. If we do it in the mood of devotion, as an offering to the Lord, that becomes spiritual. That same act, doing nothing different. It's just our consciousness is a little different. It becomes spiritual as opposed to being material. And the easiest example to understand is food. Food, when we give to somebody, it's a very good activity. We're getting good karma. But that will keep us in this world because that's all it is good karma. But if we give food which is actually prasad, which has been offered to the Lord, which is actually become non-different from the Lord, then that same act of giving food is actually spiritual because it's giving prasad. So same act, just a different consciousness. That difference in consciousness makes all the difference in the world. We either stay in this world with one activity or go to the spiritual world with the other activity. So it's very powerful. But also karma is very difficult to understand. We have to understand. We might think, oh, why am I going through this suffering? What have I done? I've done nothing wrong in my whole life. I've always been good. I've not said anything wrong to anybody. I've not done anything wrong to anybody. Why am I suffering this? Well, Krishna himself explains to Arjuna in chapter 4, text number 17, Bhagavad Gita. Karma is very difficult to understand. So don't even try to understand it. It's not worth the effort. When the battle of Kurukshetra finished, Dhritarashtra asked Krishna, why did I have to suffer seeing my 100 sons die? And Krishna thought for a moment and he replied, 50 lives ago, or something like this, 50 lives ago, you killed 100 chicks, baby birds, and you enjoyed seeing them die. So now you had to suffer the death of your 100 children. So then Dhritarashtra asked, why did I have to wait 50 lives for that karma to reverse? And Krishna replied, for 50 lives, you had to do enough good karma to get 2 children. So after 50 of your good lives, where you did good karma, you earned the right to have 100 children. And now you're suffering the loss of the 100 children because of what you did 50 lives ago. So it's very complex. So best not to worry too much about why we are where we are. Why am I suffering? But we take responsibility. I am suffering because I must have done something wrong to deserve this. I don't understand why, but it doesn't matter. Krishna has reduced my suffering. I should be suffering even more, but the Lord has very kindly reduced my suffering. So I'm thankful for him to reduce my suffering. I'm thankful for the suffering as well. Our Guru Maharaj used to say, once you've suffered some karma, you don't have to suffer that again. That's gone, finished, dusted. So, and this is the verse. Karmano hi api bodhavyam bodhavyam cha vikarmana akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gati. The intricacies of karma are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. So this is where we talk about karma, we talk about vikarma, then we talk about akarma. So we are stuck in this cycle of samsara, the cycle of birth and death. And we've been in this world perhaps billions of lifetimes, trillions of lives, who knows? Long, long time ago, we came to this world. And we are in this cycle of birth and death, birth and death, birth and death. That's reincarnation, because we are eternal beings. We acquire a material body. Every time we leave a body, every time we die, we don't die, but every time we leave the body, we get another body. And that material consciousness keeps us in this samsara. That's why we are in this material world, because we have continued to have this material consciousness, not spiritual. It hasn't become spiritual yet. And there are many, many species of life, which we've been through again and again. 84 lakh, 8.4 million species of life. And in the Padma Purana, it breaks it down, the different types of living entities. There's 900,000, 9 lakhs species living in the water, aquatics. There are 2 million non-moving living entities, such as trees and plants. There are 1.1 million species of insects and reptiles. And there are 1 million species of birds. As far as the quadrupeds, four-legged animals are concerned, there are 3 million varieties. And there are 400,000 human species. My goodness. Of which I understand only 20,000 are civilized. This is something that's again stated in the scriptures. And we've been through these 8.4 million this species of lives many, many times. Many, many, many times. Again and again and again. Finally, we've got this incredible, great fortune to have a human body. And only in the human body can we actually understand the greater values of life and try to come out of this cycle of birth and death. So this certain law that the soul transmigrates from one type of body into another is, of course, we know as reincarnation. And it all depends. There's 3 things that impact our next life. Our consciousness. So this is where Krishna was explaining about whatever we're thinking at the time of death, whatever our consciousness is at the time of death, that's what we're going to attain. Karma, whatever we're doing now will have an impact in our next life. And the third thing is our icha, desires. What desires do we have? Krishna will fulfill those desires. If we have a desire to enjoy in this material world, he will let us stay in this world. So those 3 things impact our next life. So if if we like to show off our body as a human being, that's not the purpose of human life. That's the purpose of a tree. So next life, maybe one can get the body of a tree and show off the body for thousands of years, naked. If you like to eat raw meat, a body of a lion or a tiger is more suitable. So maybe that's what Mother Nature will give us next life. If we like to sleep all the time, then we'll get the body of a bear, possibly. And if we like to eat anything and everything, whether it's nice or not nice, that's the consciousness of a pig. So this is going down into the gross levels of material life. Now that we've attained this human form of life, we have to try to improve our consciousness, get better and better at understanding who we are and who God is and what's our relationship with Him. So the aim of spiritual life is, or human life, sorry, is self-realization. This is the purpose of human life. If we live through our life simply eating, defending, mating, and sleeping, that is the consciousness of animals. So we're no better than an animal if that's all we're going to do. If we're only going to sleep and eat when we wake up and mate and defend ourselves when we're attacked, that's all we're going to do, then our consciousness is at the same level as the animal. But human consciousness allows one to understand the higher values of life. And this is what human life is all about. Our Guru Maharaj had a very famous saying, said, human life is for self-realization, not sense gratification. So, spiritual consciousness leads to moksha. Now, moksha can be interpreted in many different ways. The way we interpret moksha is to go to the spiritual world and interact with the Supreme Lord on a spiritual platform. Oh yeah, so different types of mokshas. Now, there are real life examples, near-death experiences people have gone through where there's two types of near-death experiences. There's many actually, but two main types. One is where one is about to die and one's life flashes in front of us. So that would be like a severe situation. Maybe a train, we're stuck on the, God forbid, we're stuck on the railway crossing and the train is approaching. And at that moment, our whole life will go past before us in a very concise way. And the second type of near-death experiences is where somebody's having an operation and they're completely unconscious, but somehow or other, they see themselves on the operating table and they are hearing what the doctors and nurses are saying. It's as if the soul has come out of the body, but because it's not the right time to leave, that soul goes back into the body. And then later on, it can recall what was being said and what was done to him. There's many, many cases. In fact, one school I went to, I was explaining this reincarnation. And one teacher at the end came to me and said, my daughter went through this very experience. We did not understand it at that time because she was on the operating table. And she told me, I know what the doctors did to my body, and I know what they were talking about. So it was a very interesting conversation because that's a real life situation. Remembrance of past lives. Some people have the great misfortune of remembering their past lives. Misfortune because actually we don't want to remember our past life, because past life, even in this life, we have so many grievances against so many people. Can you imagine if we remembered our past lives, how many grievances we would have against people in our previous lives who've done so much, who may have done some harm to us, perceived harm. But some people do remember. There's a Dr. Ian Stevenson in the US who has done a lot of research on these matters. He's died now, but he's written volumes on near-death experiences and remembrance of past lives. There was a fellow called William Barnes, who in his past life was Tommy Andrews. He was a designer and builder of the Titanic. And the Titanic, when it sank, they blamed the designers of the Titanic for the sinking. So now, because William Barnes could remember, he was Tommy Andrews, he defended him. He wrote a book. His whole life he spent arguing that the Titanic did not sink because of the design issue. It was an issue that the company wanted to cut costs and they didn't do what the designers wanted. So the whole of his life, pretty much, he wasted trying to defend himself in a previous life. And as I mentioned, Dr. Ian Stevenson did a lot of research. Will it help us if we remembered our previous? Maybe it could. At least it will make us realize the eternity of the soul. But generally, in most cases, it won't help us because we'll be so angry at various incidences that may have happened in the previous lives that that anger will take over any emotion, other emotions that we may have. So better not to remember. Even today, even now, you know, somebody said something to us wrong 10 years ago, we still remember. And we still remember, when I see that guy, I'm going to really give him a hard time. So conclusion, our consciousness is key, regards our current status and also our future destination. So we try to improve our consciousness. How do we improve it? By associating with devotees of God, by going to the temple, by reading Srimad Bhagavad Gita, by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, by hearing instructions on the Bhagavad Gita, by taking prasad, by eating sattvic food. This will all help improve our consciousness. Living simply as we can, and helping others. If our consciousness is, how can I help somebody else, especially on their spiritual path, then we will never go wrong because our mood is always right. And God will always look after those who look after others. This is a natural consequence. The challenge is to improve and purify our consciousness so that we can become fully God conscious, leave this samsara and attain moksha. So I wanted to end there. Very interesting topic. So much information is there, so much detail is there, but there's a limit how much we can talk. Any questions, any comments, anything that you want to, any disagreements?
Just one question, Prabhuji.
Yes.
This 400,000 of human species, it is different tribes and different people. Does that what it means?
Yeah. I've never quite worked out how it is 400,000, but I suspect it includes, you know, the higher levels of consciousness, the lower levels of consciousness. All different types of consciousness are included within that 400,000 different types of human beings. And we know, right, there are different levels of, you know, like behavior in humans. So I suspect it includes various types of behaviors that we have.
Okay.
But I know it also says 20,000 types of civilized beings, human beings. So even to understand that is not easy. 20,000 civilized types of civilized human beings. that's a little hard to get your mind around. I've never actually tried to think about what that actually means. Maybe we'll have a look at that at some point.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Haribol.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Yes, when we speak of lower state of consciousness, this means that the birds, Prabhu, the birds, they have very little. The consciousness is very poor. They do not know what are they doing. Even the dog.
Yes.
They are just flying. They live for how many? Maybe 1 year? As a dog, they live for even 10 years, 15 years, and they just pass away. This is a lower consciousness.
Yes, agreed.
Hare Krishna.
Agreed. Thank you.
Okay,
Good points. And as humans, of course, we are very fortunate, very, very fortunate. We have to make use of this fortunate time. Anybody? Oh, yes, Padupin?
Yeah, Prabhu, hello, Prabhuji. Next, first page, I think.
Hare Krishna.
And body goes mixed with the
Yes.
whole. So only the subtle body.
That's right.
Then
remains.
Yeah. And it goes with new reincarnation. Yeah. When they're born again. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, the mind stays. It's like the SIM card. Our phone hoine. If our phone gets broken,
I understand.
we get a new phone and we put the SIM card in. So it's a similar thing.
Yeah. Instrument lives here and the card goes in other instrument like this, isn't it?
Other phone, yeah. And the old phone gets thrown away, gets destroyed.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
But Prabhu, sorry.
Yes, Shamali. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Did you say if we go in the spiritual world, then the subtle body doesn't go with us? Is that right?
Yes, the subtle body gets destroyed. It's no longer required because the subtle body is still material. The mind, intelligence, and false ego.
Okay.
So the soul doesn't need a mind. The soul is above the mind. It's above the intelligence.
All right.
Soul is above the intelligence. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah. Soul controls intelligence, but of course, in most cases, the mind controls everybody.
Control.
It's crazy. The mind is crazy.
Yeah. Sometimes Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, all the devotees. I was on the bus and I was hearing you. I put it on the phone. I hear quite a lot of it, and then when I come off the bus, coming to the house, I couldn't finish it. Now I've joined as I come in the house. I heard about you saying the karma we do, and you said something about the prasad. When you do the when you offer the prasad to Lord, and then you give that prasad to the other people, that is a good karma.
No, that's better than good karma. That's spiritual karma, karma. Good karma is simply giving any food, some fruit to somebody.
All right.
But if that fruit is prasad, then that becomes spiritual activity, spiritual food.
And
so that will not keep us in this world. That will take us to a spiritual world.
Yeah, and something else also. You said something about 50 lives. You said something about 50 lives. You still have to come in the world. And
That's only
because it was
Dhritarashtra.
too much noise in the bus, I couldn't hear it.
Yes, that was when Krishna was asked by Dhritarashtra, why did I have to see 100 sons die? What did I do to make? So then he said, 50 lives ago, you killed 100 little baby birds. And
Yes.
now you are suffering to see the 100 of your children die.
Yeah. I got it. Yeah. I mean,
and then Dhritarashtra asked Krishna, why did I have to wait 50 lives? So Krishna said, well, you had to do good karma in 50 lives to get 2 children every life. So after 50 lives, you got good karma to get 100 children. Now you see them all die.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
It was very interesting, today's
Thank you.
chapter. Very interesting.
Thank you so much. After yesterday, anything is okay, you know.
Yesterday was difficult.
Tough. Yeah, it's a tough one.
Very tough.
Abodes of the Lord are tough topic.
Shiva is tough. Krishna is soft.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, everybody.
Thank
So
you.
Hare Krishna, we can stop there.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.